back to Miniseries Month. Time to look at the second half of Stakes, and if you haven't seen the first part of this review, it's linked down below.
Let's dig into May I Come In, Take Her Back, Checkmate, and The Dark Cloud. Anyways, let's begin. Episode 5 begins with the group following these pills that the moon left behind. We then see the King of Vu practicing hunting on this cookie guy named Crunchy, and they run into the Hierophant, who asks them where Marceline is, and the King of Vu points them into the direction of Bubblegum's cabin. The Hierophant shows up and asks if he could come in, which makes Peppermint Bubble realize that he's a traditional vampire and can't come in unless invited, and starts taunting him. The Hierophant then uses some vampire power to see a footprint trail which he follows. Peppermint Bubble warns them of the upcoming vampire via text message, and also Lumpy Space Princess is here for some reason. They lure the Hierophant out by using Finn as bait and Lumpy Space Princess as a mace. They then fight him for a bit while Jake shrinks down and hides in Bubblegum's bag, where he sees a text message from Peppermint Bubble about the fact that Hierophant is traditional. Marceline then gets scratched and poisoned by a scorpion tail. Jake then gets out of the bag, transforms into a house, and tells everyone to get inside of him, which they do, and the Hierophant can't come in. He then tries diplomancy, and Marceline says that she'll only work with him if he's willing to change his ways and eat red instead of blood, which he refuses because traditions and kids these days and other old man noises. He then grabs Marceline by the throat, but she's saved by a Deus Ex Crunchy.
For fuck's sake, that's the second time for this miniseries to do that. If you keep doing this, people are just going to immediately assume that I'm the one who's wrong and overusing the term.
Anyways, Crunchy rides into Hierophant, making him fall over and into the Jake house, and since he wasn't invited in, he explodes.
A strange, yet kinda creative way to kill a vampire. Though with Crunchy coming out of nowhere and it being an accident, to me it just feels like the writers kinda wrote themselves in a corner and went, fuck it.
Anyways, Marceline eats his soul and regains shape-shifting, then collapses because of the poison from earlier. The next episode begins with Marceline more or less having a fever dream from the poison, and back in the Laking world, Peppermint Bella is now here and mentions that he has a poison lab back at the castle.
Wow, ain't that convenient.
Bubblegum and Peppermint Bella head to the castle, and she tells Finn and Jake to find the moon and take her back, and then Lumpy Space Princess just kinda leaves the miniseries.
Bye, Lumpy Space Princess. You add absolutely nothing to this miniseries. I would say at least you didn't overstay your welcome, but that would imply you were welcome to begin with.
Bubblegum and Peppermint Bella break into the castle. Finn and Jake then find the moon sleeping in a jar on a boat.
Which, here is something about the moon's design that I didn't really notice until I was editing the last part of this review and got a good look at her. Please tell me I'm not the only one who sees this, but that's a vagina. She has a vagina on her forehead. I mean, yeah, I highly doubt that was intentional, but how the fuck did no one at Cartoon Network notice that?
They drive a stake into her, but she heals from it. They then bring her into the sun, but she heals from that too.
Wait, if the moon's healing powers are that good, and Marceline had them before she removed her vampirism, then wouldn't Marceline also not get hurt by the sun?
You know, the thing at the beginning of this miniseries that made her decide that she didn't want to be a vampire anymore. I mean, okay, it is possible that the healing is nerfed, but it doesn't seem like the other powers are nerfed. Her flying seems to be as good as the Force, the invisibility seems to be as good as the Empress's, and the shapeshifting seems to be as good as the Hierophant's. Anyways, they keep stabbing her for hours because apparently when Princess Bubblegum said,
"You guys take her back to the poison lab. Maybe we can extract her healing powers."
They misheard it as stake her back, and I guess they just ignored the second half of that sentence. She wakes up and starts chasing them, and Finn tries to talk to her.
You run in the path of my light. That's her voice?
I'm with you on that one, Jake, because I honestly forgot that she even talked before I rewatched this miniseries for the sake of these videos. I was not expecting that, and it honestly startled me.
Finn and Jake bring her to the castle, and Bubblegum takes Marceline and hides in this sideways locker thing. Finn and Jake try to fight the moon, but she makes them collapse.
So another power that Marceline didn't get, then why not? And if she does get, then why does she not use it?
The moon breaks open the hiding spot, to which Bubblegum responds with a line that sounds like it should be from out of context D&D.
Did you just yell pigs at the lock until it opened?
Peppermint Bubble then uses a giant stake from behind, and Marceline wakes up just in time to eat the moon's soul before she heals to regain healing powers herself, and she cures her poison. The next episode starts with Peppermint and Bella hoping that Vampire King Senpai will notice him, and then Jake shows up to pick up some food. We then cut back to the others, where it turns out that since Marceline has been a vampire for about 1,000 years, she forgot what it felt like to be hungry, though lucky for her, Jake shows up with the food. Though in the middle of the snacking, the Vampire King shows up and they try to fight him, but he explains that he wants to be cured of the vampirism. Despite his surrender, Marceline still tries to fight him, but Finn stops her because of his hero code. She doesn't want to listen, and the Vampire King takes the battle to the sky. They then fight while having this pretty dramatic conversation that I do want to show, but it's kinda long, and I don't want to tempt my chances with YouTube's copyright bots, so you're probably going to have to go looking for it yourself, though it's probably not that hard to find. Though the dramaticness kinda evaporates the second the Vampire King rips off his pants for no reason. They agree to cure him of his vampirism and take him back to the cabin, where Peppermint Bella still hopes that Vampire King Senpai will notice him, and he does. They then turn on the machine to reveal his true form.
Kitty!
The next day, Bubblegum gives Peppermint Bella the sealed bucket of pure vampirism and tells him to bury it and make sure it stays sealed. And of course, since there's still one episode left, shenanigans happen and the bucket opens and there's a huge explosion resulting in the storm cloud lion. The last episode of this miniseries begins with Finn, who somehow doesn't have a single scratch on him, collecting the pieces of Peppermint Bella, who is apparently still alive.
Though, let's be honest here. I mean, this is Adventure Time. If he did die, he would have just come back sooner or later. Not many characters stay dead in this show.
Anyways, Marceline wants to give up because the writers need to build up the suspense somehow. Then Ice King shows up and gives Marceline an accidental prep talk. We then cut to the Candy Kingdom, where the Candy Citizens decide that they liked Bubblegum better. I don't see how. And then Crunchy tries to fucking murder the King of Ooh and declares himself as the new ruler and orders the Candy Citizens to help with the fight. The Fire Kingdom and Hawk Dog Princess also try to help, but all this does fuck all. Then Marceline shows up and flies into the cloud to finish it off in a interesting way. Though as she's about to finish absorbing all of it, it gets a quick bite at her, turning her back into a vampire.
Yeah, I'm going to hold off on this moment until I give my overall thoughts on this miniseries.
We then cut to Marceline's home, where her and the others are now there, and they tell her to relax, and Bubblegum says that she's going to overthrow Crunchy and take back her kingdom. And she offers Marceline a place to stay at the Candy Kingdom if she wants to and not be alone, which I'll admit that is nice of her. After they leave, we see that apparently Marceline can now see the Vampire King in her head, though since this is Adventure Time, I wouldn't be shocked if that little detail goes absolutely nowhere. And then the miniseries ends with Marceline singing Everything Stays.
And boy, ain't that a perfect way to describe this miniseries.
I mean, yes, I did enjoy this miniseries. Hell, it's probably the best few episodes of Adventure Time to come out in recent years, but at the same time, it still suffers from the same problem that the series as a whole has. The status quo is God. Nothing has changed with this miniseries. I mean, Marceline went through all this trouble to stop being a vampire and to kill the vampires that came back as a result of that, only to end up becoming one again. Granted, Marceline no longer being a vampire probably wouldn't change that much about the show, but at least it would have been something. Hell, I mean, I think the only thing that's different from the beginning of this miniseries to the end is that Bubblegum has rule over the Candy Kingdom again, and that's also something reverting back to the status quo. So, in the end, while this miniseries was pretty good, to the overall story of Adventure Time, it was pretty much pointless. I would also like to add that while this isn't too big of a deal, I do feel like that Finn and Jake were not needed here. I mean, other than the Jake House moment, they really did not add much to this miniseries, and the rest of the time they were around, they were like Bebop and Rocksteady levels of incompetent.
Which I get it, it's Marceline's story, it's not their story. It just ends up making me dread seeing them come up on screen and do something stupid. And I know I've said this last time, but it really makes me feel like Marceline should have been the main character of the entire show and not them.
Now, of course, this is all talking in hindsight, because this miniseries came out as part of Season 7 of the show. Season fucking 7. So, it's very unlikely that any of this backstory for Marceline was planned back then. Especially since, well, I'm not 100% sure this is true, but supposedly some staff of Adventure Time have admitted to making it up as they go along.
Though there is some potential here that after Adventure Time ends, if they ever wanted to, they probably could give a full-on spin-off to Marceline and go into further detail with the backstory. Though I highly doubt they ever would do that. So all I have to say is, Adventure Time, you have 2 years left of your lifespan. Please make the best of it.
Let's go in the garden. You'll find something waiting right there where you left it, lying upside down. When you finally find it, you'll see how it's...
He keeps kicking me in the dick. Why? Why does he keep kicking me in the dick?